Hey, I'm Dr. Charles P. Winston, Young Elders Butler, a regularly featured guest on the Young Elders channel about extraterrestrials. I have years of research into the ancient astronauts and ancient technology from your distant past and future. Over 30 ancient cultures reference interaction with physical beings they considered to be gods. Modern archaeology considers these stories to be myth. We will discover the Reptilian Draconian agenda, different races in this amazing video. The Auraks Reptilians are dangerous beings. They are the rarest of all draconians. They hatch from golden dragon eggs. Auraks Reptilians are the only draconians without wings standing 7 feet tall. They are the most intelligent, cunning and fiercest of all draconian subspecies. Auraks rely on their technology powers rather than fighting hand-to-hand combat. Like support quartermasters in human armies, Auraks stay further back in the line, giving support to the ground troops by hurling deadly bombs at their enemies. Auraks are more accustomed to infiltration and covert missions. When slain, Auraks explode, injuring anyone nearby. They are the least loyal to Queen of all the types of draconians. Truly, they only fight in the dragon armies to serve their own purpose. They only give a begrudging respect for giving them life and technology. Many Auraks are waiting for the perfect opportunity to defect from the dragon armies to pursue their own obsessions with technology and power. They steal our disagreeable malevolence who eat humans. Your government have been fighting these beings. Baaz Reptilians are one of the smallest of the draconian races and hatched from brass dragon eggs. They are used as ground troops in the dragon army's forces. They are often abused and treated as slaves by others because they are the weakest of all draconians when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. Being only between 5 to 6 feet tall, they are able to work in disguise in order to surprise the enemy. With small wings, Baaz are able to flap their wings, allowing them to run very fast, intimidating their enemies. Baaz Draconians turns to stone upon their deaths. The Leveronians, Reptilians race, also called the Leviathan priesthood. They are the priest of the Draconians. Keep in mind, the original Leviathan priesthood started with the Naga and Nomos. They are the ones who created religion to control other alien races. They are very aggressive and disagreeable. They can get up to 9 feet tall and can weigh up to 700 pounds. They live on a planet called Leveron in the Draco star system. They have 7 planets that are covered with warm, salt water. The sea saurian or sea serpents, such as the so-called Loch Ness monster, comes from this race. Loch Ness has been the site of much occult or paranormal activity, including UFO activity, grey sightings, etc. Aleister Crowley was also in contact with the Markabians Greys, who were bad guys. Aleister Crowley, the Satanist Illuminist founder of the OTO, or Ordo Templi Orientis, claimed to be in contact with the Beast of the Loch. He owned a mansion on the shores of the Loch, and this same mansion later became the residence of the British occultist Jimmy Page, who not only played with the British rock group Led Zeppelin, but also owned a large bookstore dealing with witchcraft and the occult. Being aquatic in nature, and having lost the use of their limbs via atrophication and mutation, this branch of the serpent race is allegedly used for long-range psychic warfare and occult manipulation of the human race. The Targzissian Reptoids. aka Reptilians, Draconians, Saurians or Targzissians are a sapient humanoid race of bipedal reptiles which live secretly on Earth, often infiltrated and disguised among humans. They originally came from Earth out of the Naga race. They left and went to another galaxy to study and came back to Earth later. They are interdimensional reptilians. They are descendants of the Naga, who are descendant coming down from the dinosaurs, which survived the extinction level event. These intelligent creatures are naturally underground dwellers and still operate in the subterranean, but are also capable of infiltrating human society by disguising themselves to prey upon humans as a natural food source, or to control their political and sociological development by assuming the identities of important heads of state. These people are hiding in Hollywood, on TV, and in government. They are able to put on a costume and look like humans. Some of them use hologram technology and some of them use shape-shifting abilities. They are described as human-sized, lizard-like bipeds, all covered in scaly skin and often with a long tail. Their shape-shifting skills represent a natural camouflaging ability, a mental capacity to generate illusions, or a hologramic technological achievement. Like the majority of reptiles, they are meat-eaters and have a preference for consuming human flesh alive. As stated above, there exists an advanced reptilian species that is said to live in underground bases on Earth. Some of the dwellings are considered to be highly advanced cities with huge monorail systems that connect to various points throughout the Earth, like the poles and Mount Shasta. Their entry points are marked by the Ouroboros symbol that serves as a warning to all humans to vacate the premises immediately. The Ouroboros is an ancient symbol of a snake or serpent eating its own tail, variously signifying infinity and the cycle of birth and death pass. The reptoids who bear the Ouroboros symbol represent the reptilians, who have colonized Venus, the Moon, Mars, and 4 moons of Jupiter and Saturn. These are the 7 colonies represented by the 7 stars wrapped by the encircling dracon of the Ouroboros. The reptoids are conquerors who want to take over and either destroy or enslave other planets. They are part of every royal bloodline and are part of the bloodline of every US president. In 1934, a man found 2 golden tablets under Los Angeles and was said to be part of the Serpent People, who planned on infiltrating the human race and taking over the world. The most ancient of ancients are the royal elite line of reptoids. They range from 7 to 10 feet tall and can weigh up to 1,800 pounds. Their appearance is what may have inspired dragons, demons and devils in mythology and folklore. Their current locations are subterranean, assuming that they're not extinct. The Sludir are a reptile-like Centaurians race native to the planet Sludir in the Centaurian star system. They are a violent military race with a history of warfare and combat. They have 6 short, muscular legs supporting a heavy body of 1,500 pounds. Their upper torso has 2 arms, and their long skulls are marked by a large, tooth-filled mouth. Their skin is naturally thick and dense, providing them a natural armor that they take great pride in. They evolved a primitive tribal society based on a complex feudal system containing several rigid castes. Each caste had its own codes and rituals, but primary among all of them was the honor of battle. To the Sludir, combat is the surest test of individual power. No Sludir has ever fled from battle. They also have an intense desire to further their families, and the securing of an heir is extremely important. However, the Sludir's immense strength and unusual appearance makes them prime targets for slavers and mercenaries. The Empire did nothing to assist the Sludir, declaring them a legitimate slave race. Thus, many Sludir found off-planet were either slaves or criminals until the Battle of Endor. With the demise of the Empire, the Sludir retook control of their homeworld and established a loose form of government made up from crime lords of varying degrees. Many Sludir who returned to their homeworld were dismayed to find this new government, and soon left the planet once again for a better life. There is another race of humanoid reptilians in the Centaurian system. The Alpha Centaurian reptilian they are from the Centaurian star system are Netruoloids. They are most of the time good to humans. This is because they are part human, and the humans help them to get free from their overlords. They are the same height as human. They never weigh more than 180 pounds. The Saurian were a reptilian humanoid species, affiliated with the Galactic Federation of Life, the Are family with the Nomos. Harton was of the race. Part them broke off and became the Nomo Reptilians. They are very able, excellent space officers, learn to communicate in Earth tongue, have complicated vocal language of own, have upright direct posture, intelligent, can breathe a number of gases, valuable in exploration of new areas because of enormous strength due to 4 hearts. The Saurians resembled humanoid lizards with scaly skin that could be pink or grey. Their large black or yellow eyes were endowed with both vertical and horizontal eyelids and granted them an enormous visual spectrum of 74,000. They had 6 nasal canals, making certain afflictions such as the common cold particularly miserable. Saurians shed their skin once a year, during which time they were forced to avoid any areas where hygiene was important, such as mess halls. The Saurian language consisted of lingual clicks and pops. Sasquatch was one of the foods Saurians ate. The Tonians, aka Zanfretta's Reptilians, are a sapient extraterrestrial species, allegedly first sighted by 26-year-old night watchman Pier Zanfretta on the evening of December 6, 1978, in the vicinity of Torriglia, northern Italy. According to Zanfretta, these aliens hail from the planet Titonia, located in what is referred to as the Third Galaxy, referring to the Triangulum Galaxy. Zanfretta described his captors as monstrous beings, about 9 to 10 feet tall, and covered in green, hairy skin which has been described as hanging loose, as though he were very fat or dressed in a loose grey tunic. They also seem to have pointed structures, akin to spikes or crests, growing on the sides of the head. Their triangular eyes are yellow and a number of red veins are visible on their foreheads. Their fingertips are rounded, perhaps resembling those of an amphibian. The Titonians don't breathe oxygen, and in fact require a different atmospheric composition from Earth's, as evidenced by them making use of a breathing apparatus to cover up their mouths while on the planet Earth and other planets that don't have what they breathe. Zanfretta's first encounter with these aliens happened at about 6 p.m. of December 6, 1978, shortly after his car's engines, lights and radio inexplicably died out at the same time. From the garden of the currently unoccupied cottage of his client, Dr. Ettore Righi, Zanfretta saw 4 moving lights, which he promptly assumed to be the flashlights of intruders. However, as he approached to catch them, the watchman was instead confronted by extraterrestrial beings. After this original incident, Zanfretta ended up being abducted by the Titonians not once but several times over. His experiences, recalled during subsequent sessions of hypnosis, included being brought to a hot and luminous place where he was both interrogated and examined. The alien's speech was understandable to him thanks to what he described as a luminous device, which was used as a translator. In one of the sessions, Zanfretta ominously revealed that they want to talk with us and that they will soon return in larger numbers. The Bellatrician Reptilians are one of many Reptilians races. They are from the Bellatrix star system in Orion, the Are lizard-type beings with tails. Bellatricians are stated as being a bipedal dinosaurian reptilian hybrid with scaly, multicoloured skin that seems to possess a sort of luminosity. These scales are similar in design to those of a crocodile and can be green, yellow, brown or even red in coloration. With this in mind, green and yellow are the dominant scale colours. Overall, they are very scaly and bony. A large bony crest surrounds their upper head, while a small bony crest runs up the middle of the back and connects to the larger crest found on top of the head. Their eyes are large and protruding and can be either red or dull yellow in hue, resembling those of Earth's reptiles. They are set forward on the face just above and to either side of their very small nose. These eyes have been stated by Colleen Marshall as conveying more warmth than I had ever thought possible. Their mouth has thin lips that run from one side of the head to the other, presumably filled with razor-sharp teeth. Ears are tympanic in nature, like a frog's. The only sign of their existence is a circular patch of extra smooth 3 inches, 7.62 centimetre diameter area on either side of the head, just behind the eyes. Thin hands are attached to their arms and are armed with 6 long clawed fingers. The feet have 5 toes, which end in small yet very sharp claws. While they do possess a tail, it is short, only extending to the feet, although it is thick like that of a crocodilian. They exhibit sexual dimorphism, with males being slightly shorter than females. These reptilian creatures are notable for their great skills in leadership and diplomacy. They speak in a very coarse and guttural tone, their speech filled with deep growling and hissing noises. They require between 4 to 8 hours of sleep daily. The Bellatricians migrated from the constellation of Sagittarius around 25 million years ago into the area surrounding constellation of Orion. They are now found some 112.5 light-years from Earth. For the past 6 million years, they were in charge of all the former Alliance forces for our sector of the Milky Way galaxy. However, they were finally accepted into the Galactic Republic. Former members of the League of Orion, it is stated that the Bellatricians presented themselves as tyrannical overlords in the Milky Way galaxy for eons. During this time, they were the oppressive ruling class for the Draconian Empire. However, now they are attempting a transformation and aspire to be accepted as trustworthy members of the galaxy. They are now a very curious and benevolent group that wish to connect with Earth and exchange perspectives on our shared history. They are also open to connecting with those who wish to have an experience during dream time. It is proposed that the more open and accepting that humanity can be, the more likely we are to attract an otherworldly experience. The Bellatricians have expressed their sincere desire to make amends for the atrocities they have performed throughout the ages. They're trying their hardest to let go of their natural self-serving attitude and are learning to embrace the joy received when in service to others. They wish to have a gentle introduction to those who can open their hearts and forgive them for what they represented in the past, and instead accept who they are today. They are very solemn and serious beings, and thereby do not grasp the concept of humour, especially that which is derived from the misfortune of others. Their scout craft look like dewdrops and beetle and can vary in length from 100 to 400 feet, 30.5-122 meters. Their mothership look like large tadpoles and very enormously in length from 400 miles, 1.6-640 kilometers across. The Allgruuk Reptilians are a reptilians race of being from the constellation Sculptor. They live on the planet Allgruuk. They can live to be 230 years old. They descended from an ancient, now extinct, race of reptilians most commonly known as the Naga. They are specialists at building ships and other devices needed for space travelling. They are also space travellers themselves, always searching for new raw materials. They can get up to 7 feet tall. Some of them have tails. 1/3 of their race is aggressive and 2/3 is benevolent. Last seen near Tokyo, Japan in 2005. The Kyllimir Auk Reptilians come from the planet Kyllimir in the constellation Volans. They are approximately 4 to 5 feet tall with iguana-like appearance yet hominoid configuration. They have sometimes been seen wearing black hooded monk robes or cloaks which conceal much of their saurian features, which include tails. These have been reported as being extremely dangerous and hateful towards humans and lesser-ranking reptiloids. They eat flesh and humans. Like all other branches of the serpent race, they utilize black witchcraft, sorcery, and other forms of mind control against their enemies. They appear to be a dimension-hopping sorcerer or priest class among the reptiloid species. The sightings of this race on Earth is rare. They are a mystery. It is said that they were forbidden to visit Earth around the year 1.000 BC, but that they did not stop coming to your planet completely because of their allies, the race Matra Greys. They were last seen on Earth December 1989. The Krillians reptilian race were an aggressive reptilian species from the planet Krill in the Orion star system. They are 3 to 6 feet tall warrior-type beings. Krillian society was ruled by an extreme theocratic government dominated by the worship of an omnipotent, vengeful creator god named Avis, who commanded the destruction of all non-Krillians through the divine fight, a state of perpetual conflict, whose stories and philosophy were recorded in the Ankana, the Krillians' sacred text, where it stated that Avis the High God created the Krillians, independent of all other life, and granted dominion over all things in the universe to them. Even complex species were regarded as non-sentient, their actions compared by the Krillians to the generated responses of an advanced computer. Krill gather for services, religious rituals, inside rooms or buildings known as chapels. Chapels may be found throughout the Krillians' homeworld and in their destroyers. Services were led by a high priest, flanked by 2 priests. A basic chapel consisted of a single room with an altar at its center front. A copy of the Ankana and a ceremonial bell rested on the top of the altar. 2 rows of pews flanked the sides of the room, separated by a single center aisle. The walls of the chapel were adorned with Krillian writing, proclaiming belief in Avis. Because Krillian territory abutted free space, they were the Union Federation of Planets' primary antagonists millions of years before the war, until the landmark Treaty 3. The Krillians were not always so extreme in their religious beliefs. Only after the Krillians discovered they were just one species among a vast diversity of life forms did the Krillians ratchet up their xenophobia. Krillians were a bipedal reptilian humanoid species. They had tough, scaly skin with 3 bony ridges running along their skulls. Their height and strength are roughly the same as humans. Males had two bone protrusions from the base of their chins called chin horns. There were at least two krill phenotypes. The first had pale white skin with entirely black eyes. The second had blue-grey skin with black irises and white sclerae. The Krillians' homeworld, also called Krill, was covered in a shroud of darkness, and evolutionary adaptation to that environment had caused the Krillians to be vulnerable to even mild exposure to the ultraviolet radiation in lights and sunlight. All observed Krillians had the same slender physique. Krillian women can be chubby, though the extent to which that is only prurient fantasy is unknown. As a whole, politics were shaped by a supremacist interpretation of Krillians' religion, although the Union's suspected progressive movements existed within the Krillians' power structure. The Krillians' military was an extension of the society's religion, and participation in the military was known as joining the divine fight against other life forms. The Krillians operated warships called destroyers for military operations. Destroyers were led by a captain in charge of all operations aboard the ship. The captain was assisted by a high priest who oversaw religious affairs. Some destroyers may self-cloak. There were at least two tiers of Krillian military rank: the captain in command of a destroyer and the soldiers who comprised the bulk of the Krillians' force. Soldiers were highly trained for hand-to-hand and weapon-based combat. Soldiers were in charge of minor operations, enforcing the commands of leaders aboard destroyers or leading ground teams on military strikes. Krillians' armor was durable yet flexible, having the same toughness as their rifles. Armor covered nearly all of the body of a soldier, although it was not entirely for protection in combat. Because Krillians were extremely sensitive to light, the armor blocked out deadly ultraviolet radiation. When on the surface of well-lit worlds, Krillian soldiers wore helmets that guard the face at all times possible. The helmets opened and retracted automatically. Soldiers carried several types of weapons: an assault weapon known as a plasma rifle, a single-handed plasma gun, and a sword for close-quarters combat. Some Krillians carried daggers, which featured a trademark dagger within a dagger design. Krillians used electrified batons as an instrument of torture on prisoners, which had at least 9 levels of intensity to hurt the victim. It is assumed that higher levels were extraordinarily painful and harmful, as the Krillians themselves were only able to survive up to level 8. Captured enemies were temporarily stored in the brig of a ship, but long-term captives were held in prisons. Like we said above, the Krillians were hostile towards non-Krill species of space, raiding or attacking other civilizations, such as the planet the Chaktal. Chaktal were a humanoid reptilian species with red eyes, skin of various shades of brown, with blue-grey splotches on the head, a prominent ridge on the crown of the skull, pointed ears and a short stubby nose. The Chaktal were from the planet Chaktal. They were not very smart. Their brain were very small. They are neutral beings who used to be pet to the Krillians but got mad or broke off. The Are descended of the Vulcans and Meldekians. The Krillians-Chaktal conflict erupted when the Krillians attacked Chaktal colonies, and the Chaktal launched a punitive campaign in retaliation. Krillians used dedicated broadcast frequencies for communications and distress signals that other civilizations identified as distinctive to the Krillians. Krillian children were educated in space vessels, such as destroyers, exposing the children to warfare on the ship and indoctrinating them into the Krillians' military society. A classroom consisted of roughly a dozen pupils led by a single teacher. Their language is Krillian. Krillian is an alien language spoken by the Krill people, a reptilian humanoid species frequently at odds against the Planetary Union. The Capellian reptilian lizard beings are from Capella's star system. They came from Tiamat billions of years ago. They can get up to 18 feet tall and can weigh as much 2 tons. They eat flesh. They don't like humans and love eating them. They consider humans as a lesser race and say they were created before humans. They are very fast and have 5 finger and 5 toe like humans. They can live to be over 1,800 years old. They hide in plain sight. Masters of disguise, they walk among us. These enigmatic figures blend seamlessly into our daily lives, their true identities masked by ordinary appearances. We pass them on the streets, sit next to them on buses and work alongside them, never suspecting the ancient secrets they harbour. We know them as the Reptilians. These beings shrouded in mystery, are said to possess the ability to shapeshift, taking on human form to infiltrate our societies. Their reptilian nature, hidden beneath layers of human-like skin, is a chilling reminder of their otherworldly origins. Their story is an ancient one, whispered on the winds of time. Legends of these creatures have been passed down through countless generations, their presence woven into the very fabric of human history. From the earliest days of civilization, tales of these beings have been told around campfires, in temples, and through the written word. From the dawn of civilization, tales of serpentine beings have captivated and terrified humanity. These stories, etched into the walls of ancient caves and carved into stone monuments, speak of creatures with the power to influence and control. They are depicted as both gods and demons, revered and feared in equal measure. The Egyptians worshipped Wadjet, the cobra goddess of protection. She was believed to guard the pharaohs and the land of Egypt, her image a symbol of divine authority and power. The reverence for Wadjet highlights the deep connection between these ancient myths and the cultures that embraced them. The Greeks feared Medusa, her gaze turning men to stone. Medusa, with her serpentine hair and petrifying stare, embodies the terror and fascination that serpentine beings have inspired throughout history. Her story is a cautionary tale of beauty, power, and the consequences of crossing the divine. These myths, passed down through generations, speak of a powerful otherworldly force. They tell of beings with abilities beyond human comprehension, capable of manipulating reality itself. These stories, though ancient, continue to resonate, their themes of power and mystery as relevant today as they were millennia ago. A force that has shaped human history from the shadows. These beings, if they exist, have influenced the rise and fall of empires, the course of wars, and the destinies of nations. Their presence, though hidden, is felt in the undercurrents of history, their influence a constant, unseen hand guiding humanity's path. Today, these ancient whispers have evolved into modern conspiracies. In our age of information and technology, the stories of reptilian beings have taken on new forms. Conspiracy theories abound, suggesting that these creatures are not just relics of the past, but active participants in our present. Theories abound of reptilian overlords controlling our governments, our media, our very lives. Are these just stories? Or is there a kernel of truth hidden within the layers of myth and speculation? The idea that powerful, unseen forces are manipulating our world is both compelling and terrifying. Or do they hold a terrifying truth? The fear that these beings could be real, that they could be influencing our lives in ways we cannot see or understand, is a powerful one. It taps into our deepest anxieties about control, power, and the unknown. We must delve into the shadows. To uncover the truth, we must be willing to explore the darkest corners of our history and our world. We must question what we know and seek out the hidden truths that lie beneath the surface. We must examine the evidence. Through careful study and investigation, we can begin to piece together the puzzle of the reptilian presence. By analyzing ancient artifacts, historical records, and modern accounts, we can start to separate fact from fiction. Only then can we hope to understand the true nature of the reptilian presence on Earth. The journey to uncover the truth is a daunting one, filled with challenges and uncertainties. But it is a journey worth taking, for it holds the promise of revealing the hidden forces that have shaped our world and continue to influence our lives today.